Welcome to Women Engage, where real women talk about real issues. Thank you for coming to join us today. Welcome to our program. We are talking about women mentoring women today. We have a great panel of brilliant women, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves to you in a moment. But I just want to say to you that if you would like to join with us, engage in our conversation, you're welcome to go onto our website, which is www.ecdadventist.org, and click on Women Engage, and you can get involved in our program as well. So I'll begin by introducing myself to you. I'll tell you my name and where I'm from, and then I'll ask the other ladies to introduce themselves to you as well. My name is Jocelyn Isabirye. I'm from Uganda.
My name is Yetunde, a Nigerian.
My name is Evelyn Mbwambo Muhumuza from Tanzania.
My name is Daylene Batiste, and I'm from the U.S.
My name is Marianne Razafia Rivoni. I come from Mauritius.
My name is Debbie Maloba. I come from Democratic Republic of Congo.
Welcome, welcome ladies. So we've said today we're talking about women mentoring women. I think let's just begin by defining the basics. What is mentoring? What do you understand by that term? Mentoring.
I would say mentoring is passing on the knowledge that you have to someone else who might be in need.
Okay, passing on knowledge. Okay, any other additions?
Yeah, I would say it's helping someone else develop and just grow out of their shell.
Yeah. Helping someone to develop. Okay, has anyone been mentored by someone that they think this was really beneficial to me? Is anyone willing to share any experience of mentoring that they have benefited from?
Yes. When I started writing, when I was in school, I had to write it, those papers that you write, and I was very, very green, not even knowing where to start. So I prayed about it, and then there was that gracious lady. She has had experience, she has seen many papers, probably many students. So I asked her one day and said, would you kindly mentor me into the writing process? What do you do? And then I remember very clearly, I was asking her on a technical level, but she started with attitude. She said there's a certain attitude you have to take when you write, there's a certain way, there's certain things you have to do. She literally, trained and guided me in such a way that everything she said, I started to start emulating. And getting, learning not only the technical part of writing itself, but really the way to do it, the spirit you have to have, the attitude you have to got, and things that you have to do in terms of health. And so I believe I had a good mentor, and I'm grateful for that.
When I started working with one NGO, I didn't know how to go about it. I wanted to be closer to people, to help them, but I didn't know how to start, where to even get the tools that will help me. So one missionary, she was closer to me, she called me, she invited me for 2 weeks. I stayed with her, and she taught me about how I can go. When you go to one population, you have to ask questions, you have to discover their needs, because you will minister to their needs. You will never achieve what you want if you don't know the needs, if you don't have the tools that will help you to reach them so that they may change and also get something that will help them to face the challenges they are in. And it helped me, and it went well, and today I can testify. I'm using it, helping people, and changing their lives. Yes.
Okay, so my experience came when I was in 6th grade. I had a teacher who, she was mentoring me, but she didn't know that she was mentoring me. And the way that she did that is, I was her teacher assistant, and every day in class she would tell me, could you please help me organize the desk area? Could you put away the cleaning supplies? And so I think with her just telling me to clean all these things and put everything away, basically helping me to organize myself. So as I got older, I was also being more organized in everything that I did. So that's one way that I would say that I had a mentor, even though she didn't know she was mentoring me at such a young age.
Yeah, I also had, or rather I'd say the greatest mentor in my life has been my mom. Because at the early age of 10 years, I vividly remember, she used to tell me how to handle my finances. So she would give me pocket money, you know, as little as it was back then. But every time she would give you something, she tells you, you have to keep something out of this. And she would ask me after every week, how much have you saved? And then I tell her. And it has been a great practice that I've carried throughout my life to date. That is, I just can't spend everything that I have. I have to keep something. And that has been my experience, and it's a beautiful one.
Wow. When I first started teaching, I trained, I'm a teacher, and I trained in my home country in Uganda. And then I got married and we moved and we did other things for a while, and I did other things, but then I went back into teaching when I was in the UK, and I hadn't trained in the UK, and teaching in the UK is very different to teaching in Africa. And I remember there were two teachers particularly that just took an interest in me and just making sure that I was okay. The biggest challenge I think for me was dealing with behavior management, because kids there they didn't respond in the same way as kids in Africa did. So how do you deal with, you know, the behavior so that you have the rapport with the students, but at the same time you have their respect and you have the classroom management. And they did a lot to help me feel comfortable in my role. And so all of us have, I think, examples that we could share. What I noticed is that all of these experiences that we've shared have all been informal. You know, even in Debbie's case where it was at work, and also in Marianne's case where it was a work situation, you know, it was an informal relationship. It was not that someone had assigned them. It was not a formal relationship. And yet still, I think the core tenets of mentoring, which is an experienced person passing on skills to someone else and assisting them to grow and develop. And the other thing I noticed is that a lot of what we seem to be saying had to do with relational and not just functional things. I think Debbie, you even said she asked you to stay with her.
Yes.
So
2 weeks.
For 2 weeks.
For 2
That's,
weeks,
yes.
Wow.
So mentoring, much more than coaching, is more relational. It's not just functional. And we see all of these informal mentoring relationships. But do you think that it's worth considering maybe having more formal mentoring opportunities that we can provide for women to be able to assist women, so that it's not all this informal, but like in our workplaces, can we have more structured mentoring programs? Would that be useful?
The career, the way we see career and everything is not the same like we had in the past. So therefore, it's not a matter of just climbing up the ladder, but actually really developing skills in certain areas. And to have formal mentorship is so very important, because then that person can see the opportunity, can see the places where he or she can grow in certain ways, because that therefore will allow her or him to go to, I mean her, if it's a woman especially, that he will go to some people and, you know, to address the situation, being able to express the need, because it's formal. It's okay to say, I need help. It's okay to say, I need a mentor. I feel like I need to grow there in that domain. And so, whereas wherever it is informal, you really need to establish that relationship. He was mentioning she knew the lady, she had a friend.
Yes.
Now, if you don't have a friend and if it is informal, that relationship does not happen, so you don't get the mentorship. Whereas when it is formal, even if you don't have a friend, you can go to the responsible parties and say, you know, I really need some help there.
Yeah, because I think about the number of people that slip through the cracks that could have been helped, whether it's in a school setting or in an NGO or a work, university, whichever place of work, or even in a home setting. I liked that Evelyn talked about her mother, mentoring her in particular skills. So even in a home setting, there are people who slip through the cracks because they may not have anyone who notices their need. You know, sometimes we're struggling and no one knows that we're struggling, and we are too shy to tell people that we're struggling. And because we don't have the opportunity to create that kind of relationship, we fall through the cracks. But if we were to create more formal opportunities to mentor, then we would have fewer people slipping through the cracks.
That's right.
So we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about where are some of these places where we can set up formal structures where women can be supportive of other women. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Women Engage, and we've been talking about mentoring, women mentoring women. So ladies who are saying that mentoring is important, and we found that in our personal experiences, much of the mentoring that we received was very informal, and that maybe it is important to think about setting up formal structures in order to be supportive of other women so that women don't fall through the cracks. So what kind of places can we set up these structures where we can mentor other women?
I think the home is a good place to start. I'm just trying to look at society, and I'm wondering, do we have enough women in enough places to set up this type of structure you are talking about? Because in the workplace, the number of men tend to override the number of women, and it still does not mean you cannot get a mentor. But I think we'll probably have to start from the home first and foremost, and then from the home we can carry it on to the school, to the workplace, to any area where we build relationship with people. We can use that, and it could even be in the church. Yeah, it could be in the church. We could have women who we know are God-fearing, and they have the mind of helping others, and they have the right character traits. And I'm saying that because I'm trying to define the sort of things we'll be looking out for, because we had a mentoring program once in one organization, and we took on certain women to say, please, can you mentor these young ladies? And we ended up having ladies being prepared for beauty pageant. So we had to go over the whole of the program again, you know, like restructure it and get new people onto the program, because it's not that we had a problem with beauty pageant, but that was not the aim. What we wanted were ladies who could be mentored to fit into society, fit into the workplace, fit into the home. You know, we wanted that sort of engagement. So I think as we begin to look at structures, we should also look at the sort of people we will put inside. We talk about the church women. It doesn't mean all the women in church would have the right influence. I think if we say that, that will be lying. Not all the women in church. So
who can mentor then? Yeah. Are we saying only certain types of people can be mentors?
I think so. I think somebody who would mentor must have a level of understanding in the subject area, or in, like Evelyn's mother mentored her in terms of money management, her personal money management. You know, her mom must have a good idea of how to take care of money for her to be able to do that. So it's somebody who has an understanding, a good understanding, let me not just say a fair understanding of the subject matter. The person must also be gracious enough to be patient with the person you are training, because all mentees don't come at the same level. Yeah, and then I would like to add that it has to be somebody who is God-fearing, because what you have is what you can give, but if you don't have the fear of God or the Spirit of God in you, you tend to hold it and say, let me keep this for myself, let me be the only one who is able to do this around. Yeah.
Yeah, I also think in a community where there is a need, not everywhere, where there is a need, because it will help you to reach your objectives and what you are aiming for. And also, just to pick from where Yetunde has said, I also agree with her. Not every woman, because we are talking about women, not every woman will be good in mentoring. She's supposed to be a good listener, who listens, who has time to listen to those who are coming. The mentees, they are not all at the same level. So she has to take time to listen to them with their problems. She also must be herself. That is very important.
Yeah.
She must also accept those who are coming because levels are different, so that they will see the love she has and will profit from what she will give them.
I think also, as Yetunde was talking about a God-fearing person, I was thinking about, I was speaking to one of our pastors, and he was talking to me about a program that they have where they have these alternative initiation programs for tribes that have, for example, there are those who do circumcision. And the boys are initiated into manhood, and there's the cultural way of doing it. And so they have alternative ceremonies where they mentor these young men, and they also have programs to initiate girls instead of going through the FGM, female genital mutilation, and those kind of things. But then they mentor these young people. And I think being God-fearing is an important quality because there are many ways that we can help people to grow, but some are godly and some may not necessarily be godly. But I also want to go back to something that Yetunde said about the workplace. She said, well, maybe that's not a good place to start because there are so few women there. Don't you think that's maybe why we should have more mentoring programs, particularly in the workplace for women? Because there are so few of us, particularly in higher offices and in positions of responsibility, where it's probably even more important, because there are few of us, that we do have formal mentoring programs where we can support other women. Otherwise, if we don't support each other, who's going to support us?
We can start from school when they are ready to, they are preparing to think of careers, to think of being mothers, wives, and all of those. Different aspects, and that come with the fact that you have to take people who have experience, people who want to share, but each in its own sphere. But I would like to also say that we have to also not forget that mentoring has also an element of influence to it.
Yes, it does.
So therefore, the person may be qualified, but not have a good influence somehow.
Yeah.
The technicity is given, but the influence is not godly. So this needs to be taken care of, preciously, if we want to groom those, the younger generation, if we are talking, or even our sisters, because it is important.
I think a lot of influence goes into mentoring. It's more about the influence of the person, much more than the
know-how.
Yes, much more than the know-how. If you have a good influence, you can mentor somebody, and like Marianne said of her professor or friend who taught her the technicalities of writing. And I think in the past, when I say the past now, I'm talking of the 70s, the late 60s. In the schooling program, without calling it mentoring, we had mentors. Everyone was supposed to have a school mom. Your school mom would teach you the values of the school where you are, because each school those days was known for something. It could be singing, it could be the social aspect of life, much more than the subjects we were doing. And your school mom was a senior in school, not a teacher. Yeah, it has to be a senior student, and she will take you through the program of the school and tell you the things we do as students of the school. And I remember I had schoolmates who were children of cocoa farmers. Their fathers were rich in their own rights, but these children had only schooled in the villages and for the elementary school, and they came to the city for the high school. And there was one particular girl, you know, we say she has a brain to be shared for 5 girls. Very brilliant. But for the social manners, she didn't have it. She lacked it completely. But we always say that after the first term, you cannot tell the difference between the girl who has lived in the city before coming to school and the ones coming from the village. That's how well they get integrated. That's how well the mentors get to set at work. And I tell you, even as low as having to brush your teeth. Yeah, those things were being taught in schools by your mentors those days. Yeah.
That's good.
That was a good system.
Yeah.
What about in churches?
In a church, it's easier to mentor, especially because I'm a pastor's wife, and most of the young adults, they come, they see you, you have things in common with them, and they'll gravitate towards you, and therefore you are there to start mentoring them, even though they don't call it mentoring. But just because you take time, you hang out with them, or they share about their troubles that they're going through, I feel like it's a great opportunity, especially at church, to mentor younger.
It is a good ground, but I don't know whether it is easier. You know, this is church, school. We have the teacher, we have the senior boy or senior girl. Somehow authority is already established and we know. But church, I mean, apart from the pastor and the pastor's wife has all of those girls to take care of. Sometimes she cannot be a mentor herself. But even if you find somebody else and then I start, it can happen. It can happen. I've seen it happening where you'll ask somebody, well, you know, I was talking to so-and-so and she says, you know, you are not my mom. Very respectfully, very nicely, but you know, to say that, who gave you the right to tell me that? So I don't know, sometimes, you know, because of the aspect of spirituality, of the aspect of everything else, somehow mentorship is more influential and you know, intangible for church than the formal knowing how to use cutlery and this and that for school, you see, because of that level of authority.
That's why maybe I think church and home, we need to work in partnership because it has to start at home. So that when they come in church, they know the responsibility of the church and they will respect it. But if home has released, they are not very strong, parents are not very strong to prepare their children, even when they reach the church, they will use the same language. You are not my parent.
Allow me to ask, because sometimes, you know, when we talk about mentoring, I had a mentor and I gratefully accepted because I was in need. Now suppose somebody does not feel the need. How now do
or
you
maybe
mentor?
the person does not accept. I once worked with a professor, very brilliant, by the way. She got her PhD at age 28. In those days, that was a feat to achieve. And she gladly would tell you that she wants to mentor people or mentor girls, and she's all for equity. But there were things she wanted to pass on that I could not accept. And let me make an example. As simple as the key to the office door. She just could not give it to anybody because she does not trust most of us in that office. We were just like 10 or less in number. And the day she called me and she told me, she said, I know you come early, you are not a late comer, not like these days. Then, you are not a late comer, and I would like to entrust you with the key to the office. I gladly agreed, but I knew that there was going to be more to it because she would send her driver at 7 to be sure that I am there at 7.
Wow.
Yeah, even after she had said she trusted me, you know, and then it was so restrictive, I could not move anywhere without carrying that key. She had a way of checking on me, you know, like an impromptu check, just to see, do you have the key? And then I had to be the last person to leave the office because I carried the key. And for her, closing time is never 5. It was a research center, so there was nothing about closing at 5 or 4. You just close when you feel like you are too tired to continue. and that she tried to put in all of us, and I could accept taking the key, but I found it difficult to have somebody look over my shoulder to be sure that I will be there at 7. I have promised to be there at 7. I'm committed to the job. I would like to be there at 7. I even did not want her to look bad in the eyes of the other people. And at one point in time, our mentoring system broke down. Yeah. So I took it off my mind and I left the work, that particular workplace, by the way. Yeah, because it was no longer healthy. So at times, mentoring may not be as healthy as we want it to be. Because the other person thinks, I'm giving you everything. You should sort of be enslaved to me and be happy and be thankful. And, you know, it was as bad as if she's having issues with Evelyn. I could not greet Evelyn. Yes.
So it had reached that level where it was no longer helpful,
Yeah.
and the influence was no longer positive.
Something we need to remember is that we are human beings.
Yes.
Even the one you are mentoring is a human being.
Yes.
So you need to know which attitude to take.
Yes. We've run out of time, unfortunately. I know there's so much more that we could say on this topic, but I think it goes back to mentoring being relational. So if something is relational, it means it's two-way. It's a give and take from you know all the parties that are involved. Just a few words, one final thought on this topic of mentoring. What would you like to say?
Yeah, I know we have not said so many things, but I also think a mentor should have the attitude of mercy towards the person you are trying to build up. You know, show some mercy, be kind. Don't just take it as a learning process. You must know it now and it has to be now. It takes time for some people to get to understand.
Yeah, I would say mentoring requires or should be done with much grace, because as you might think you're mentoring someone, that someone might not know that he's being mentored. So you have to have grace as you're mentoring that person.
Okay, I would say being yourself and being authentic, because people can see when you're not being genuine with them.
That's right.
When I think of mentoring, I have an image always of a road where two people are walking together, one having something to share and the other one willing to receive something to share. It's fun, it's graceful, and it's you know, out of this world. So it's an experience to really live, to be a mentor and to be mentored too.
As a mentor, do not be judgmental. Love the one you mentor, but also be interested. It will work.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you for having joined us on our program today with Women Engage. If you would like to engage with us in the topic that we've discussed today or on any other of our topics, please log on to our website, www.ecdadventist.org, and click on Women Engage. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your questions, your comments, to see you engage with us in our discussions. God bless you till next time.